Hey folks, David Stewart here. Buy a book or buy some music. Available on Amazon. That's a great way to help me out. Great way to support the channel. King Leper. This is a new one. Very epic. Check it out. Let's talk about Zootopia 2. It sucks. You could probably guess that it was going to suck. My friends who have followed me on this channel, you predicted this movie correctly, I'm sure. Sure you saw it and were like, this is probably going to suck. It's a sequel in current year. I'm recording this in 2026, but though the movie came out at the end of 2025, the year of our Lord. And it's a sequel made by the Disney Corporation. What are the chances that it's going to be good? Those odds, I'm not going to take those odds. Though I went and saw the movie. I guess so I could make the review, right? But anyway, I saw the movie. It's not good. It sucks. You can also guess, if you are a longtime viewer, why the movie sucks. It's not because of the production. It's not because of the animation. It's not because of the acting. It's not because of the music. The movie was really good with all of those things. The visual design was amazing, right? Animation quality was pretty good. It was the writing. It's the same reason every movie sucks. When I talk about movies sucking on this channel, it's almost never because the production is bad. The production is usually really good. It's almost never because the acting is bad. Like, the actors in Hollywood are mostly pretty good at what they do. It's the writing, which is actually the cheapest part of the production. Writers are paid so little money in Hollywood. You should be able to write a good movie. You should be able to spend a little bit of money and have some experts write a good movie, but they won't do that. And one of the reasons they won't do that is that no one really cares about the writers. The writers are not the stars. No one really pays attention. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head who wrote Zootopia 2 because I didn't look up the credits right before recording this, and I don't remember the credits from when I saw them at the movie theater, which at this point was several weeks ago. It's taken a while to get this video out, and I do apologize for delays. Another reason that it probably doesn't matter that it sucks is, like, this review is coming out really late, so it's not like I'm going to be influencing a whole lot of people, though. People might be influenced, if you're watching this, to not watch it on Disney Plus when it comes out on Disney Plus. But I think a lot of people will look at the optionalities. Like, even though Stu said the movie sucks, I have an hour and a half and my kids want to watch the movie, I guess we'll watch it, which is basically how I ended up watching it. So yes, the writing sucks. It's the tale as old as time. It's the same story in every single Hollywood movie. And that's one of the reasons, again, that I think that it doesn't matter that it sucks. So I'll just get that black pill out of the way. Why doesn't it matter? Well, number one, audiences don't really care that much about good writing. Good writing is pretty far down the list. They're only aware that the writing is bad when it's really bad. And they're not really aware that it's ever good. They just feel that a movie is good, and they don't really think about how the dialogue is well written. They don't really think about how the plot is well constructed. These things are not, they're not in the normies kind of thought sphere about how they go about analyzing a movie. First, they react to the movie, and then they try to figure out the things that they liked about the movie. So if you talk to most normies, they'll talk about the things they like about the movie as like individual scenes and moments that they liked. And Zootopia 2 actually has some of those moments that I think people will probably like. There's little gags that people are going to remember, and similar to like a Roald Dahl book, people just tend to forget the rest of the book and remember the little part that they liked. They tend to forget whether there's a plot or not, and just tend to remember the part that they liked and come away with a good feeling. This is somewhat of the equivalent of like a Joke Factory. It's a different format. It's a mystery format plot, but the way they present it is kind of like a Joke Factory, like you're watching 30 Rock or something like that, that there's so much going at such a high speed that you're kind of just hoping something will stick with somebody and they'll remember and like it. And if the other things don't land, then it's kind of okay because the pace is so fast. I was taking a walk with my kids and asking them what they thought about the movie. And they all said basically the same thing about the movie, is that it felt like there was too much going on. Things were happening too quickly in the movie, is what my son said. Things happened too quickly. There were too many events too close together that the characters were over here, and then they were over there, and then they were doing this, and then they were doing that, and then they're in a completely different place. And the revelations happened so quickly and at such a high speed, you'd never really have a chance to process what's going on. And I think that's by design, partially so that they could try to fill the movie up with as many little references and gags gags as they can. I'll talk about reference humor in a second because that's what this movie is leaning on. Every millennial writer tends to lean on reference humor, and it's awful, in my opinion. But, I'll just talk about it now. Millennial writers tend to write reference humor. This movie is full of reference humor. Reference humor is not really humor. They just say, hey, remember this other movie? Here's a thing from this other movie. And the millennial response to the inside wink of, do you remember this other movie, is to go, ha ha ha. Ha ha ha, how clever, how clever. They had a piece from another movie that I happen to have seen. Isn't that great? It's not funny. Those aren't jokes and they're not funny. Not to me. And I get the references, right? It's not like, okay. And they're referencing things that are really popular. But they also chose to reference things in this movie that were just bizarre. So they have a reference to Silence of the Lambs. They're like, well, we have a sheep in prison. We should reference Silence of the Lambs. Like, this is a children's movie. The children didn't get any of those references. They have a reference to The Shining with Jack Nicholson, the Stanley Kubrick movie. Not for children. Not for children at all. So you have a character run out into a frozen maze, and it's like a little wink wink. You remember The Shining? Yes. Those of us who have watched movies have watched The Shining, just like how we have watched Silence of the Lambs, Best Picture winner for 1991, won all the top 5 Oscars, right? Very well-known movie. Children haven't seen it. Why is this a substitute for like a real gag? It's just, it's not, right? And actually there was kind of a gag in the Silence of the Lambs reference, but it didn't really have anything to do with the reference. So lots of reference humor, right? To fill in all of the voids of the fact that they don't have any time for the characters to really react, to grow, to do anything with the plot, and the plot is completely convoluted and ridiculous. So another thing that I really, really disliked about this movie was the dialogue between the rabbit and the fox, Judy and what the heck is the fox's name? Anyway, they are just having a therapy session, and it's like, who wrote this? I'm guessing it's a millennial woman wrote this. I don't remember because I don't remember the credits, and I'm just talking to a camera. So I could be saying complete nonsense and idiot things, but it looks like a millennial wrote it because they're doing therapy. They're having therapy with each other. They're ironing out their relationship. The fox and the rabbit aren't really in a romantic relationship, but they have to fix their friendship, right? And so that requires all this therapy speak. I feel vulnerable. I feel scared of this, right? Things that are really stupid and out of place in a kid's movie. And I feel like there's so much, like the references. Maybe the references are intended to entertain millennial adults taking their children to the movie. They're like for millennial adults, or maybe the movie is just really targeted towards adults. Like it's the Disney adult phenomenon. Like this movie is actually for childless adults to still watch kids movies. I'm not sure who the movie's for. The kids enjoyed it okay, but like they didn't really like it nearly as much as the first movie. And it's because the writing is so bad, that's the B story, right? Is this, we have to repair our relationship. The rabbit and the fox have to repair their relationship. So they have to do therapy while they're running from the cops and various other bad guys throughout the entire movie. It's silly. It doesn't really work. It's very cringe. The A story is the bigger problem, which is this mystery plot. So one of the things that can happen when you are writing a mystery plot is you can end up in a convoluted territory, which is to say that the pieces of the mystery don't fit together, or they fit together in such a complex way that it becomes not very believable, let's say. It becomes implausible. And I realize that implausible is an odd word to use in a movie about talking animals living in a weather-controlled super city, okay? But the plot was very implausible. And this is because when you're releasing or you're giving the audience one piece of information at a time to try to fill in all the information necessary to understand the plot, because that's the way a mystery plot works, is you gather a clue. This clue helps you to understand the entirety of the events that are unfolding, and eventually you understand everything, okay? Mystery plots are great. This one is bad basically because the premises that generate the mystery are really stupid. They are incredibly stupid, even for a movie about a bunch of talking animals in a weather-controlled super city. That is saying something. And when you look deeply at it, or you realize like what they're doing, it's like, what? None of this makes any sense. They would just add revelations in to add them in. And really, when I think about this plot, I'm like, could AI, like, people said maybe AI wrote this. AI maybe have done a better job. I don't know, right? We're at a point where things are such slop garbage when it comes to writing. AI might as well write them. You know, we're not getting anything good there. But the entire plot revolves around, and I'm going to give you spoilers because this movie deserves to be spoiled. It's bad, so who cares? So the entire plot revolves around this powerful Lynx family. And their family, some ancestor of theirs, built these weather control machines in Zootopia. So you can guess that turns out that they didn't actually invent the weather control things. They stole it from a snake, thus answering the question from the first movie, where are all the reptiles? Well, you see, when the lynx ancestor stole the invention from the snake inventor, he decided to go total reptile death. Right? His response to stealing that is, we got to make sure nobody knows that I stole this idea. We have to exterminate all reptiles. Like, this is completely bizarre. Like, what an insane response. Meanwhile, they're trying to stop the heroes from going to the house, which is now buried in snow, to get the evidence of the snake. It's like, we have to stop them from getting to that house. It's like, if you knew that the house was there and it had some kind of evidence that would be bad for you somehow, you could have done something about it other than like, oh, well, they buried it in snow to hide the evidence. The entire setup is like, imagine a robber baron. A robber baron is like, hey, this black gentleman invented a thing. I'm going to steal that invention and patent it. And in order to cover my tracks, I'm going to kill all the black people. Right? It's like total genocide. This is completely insane. It was a completely insane sort of motivation for the villains to have. And they seem to understand because they're reacting to the heroes uncovering the mystery and figuring out how to solve the problem. They can psychically understand what the heroes are doing and go to try to stop and foil them. Which, then raises the question of if they knew that this was a problem, they could have fixed it at any time. There's a book, right? This notebook that contains all the notes for like the invention. And apparently, even though they didn't have weather control, they had a patent office and stuff. But, there's a secret hidden on the metal cover. What is it, a metal cover? Oh, because the heat-seeing snakes can see something in the metal cover. Why would you hide something in the cover of your notebook? That's a completely idiotic idea. Why would you do that? There's no reason to. Did you anticipate you would get like murdered or that your race would be exiled to another continent for the horrible crime of having an idea stolen from you? It's insane. So yeah, there's no reason for like these clues to be deposited. There's no reason for the villains to be acting the way that they're acting, to be motivated to do what they're doing, for the ancestor to have been motivated to do what he's doing. There's no reason for the villains really to be. They have to add some extra tension there. Well, the villains are gonna change the weather to bury this marine area, this water area, where there's a couple of reptiles still like hanging out, a couple of turtles and like some lizards and stuff, but it's mostly like walruses and stuff that live in the water, mostly mammals. They're going to bury it in snow. Why? Because they're territorial. It's like, you can't think of like something a little better than like they're just particularly evil. They're just mega evil. Their response to we have to cover up the evidence. How are we going to do it? We'll destroy everything. We'll genocide all reptiles. What? Like, it's a cartoon, and they're cartoonishly evil in a way that's completely ridiculous. So the A plot is a total mess. It's very convoluted. characters are constantly having to basically act with psychic powers or take really big leaps. There's clues that there's no reason for them to exist. It's just a mess. And like my kids say, the pacing is so fast. They're going through these revelations. They're going through these moments. They're just going through these beats at such a rapid pace that most people are simply not going to take a step back and be like, well, why did they do that? That doesn't make any sense. Why are they over here now? Right? The movie just proceeds at its own breakneck pace, hoping that the mystery plot will kind of carry it along. Because the first movie was a mystery plot, and it made a lot of sense. And the first movie was about uncovering, something deeper wrong with Zootopia. In this case, it's mostly just an evil Snidely Whiplash character trying to do genocide on an entire, not even an entire race, like an entire phylum, maybe not an entire phylum, maybe, an entire order of animals is going to be wiped off so that he can keep the secret that he didn't invent the weather machines, like it matters 100 years later. Oh, the snakes are going to get recognition. The lynx won't lose any money because all of that already happened in the past, right? It's just really bad. So the thing is that the good parts, I think, will convince most people that it was an okay movie. They'll remember a gag. They'll remember a reference that they got, and they'll feel good about getting that reference. And that'll be it. That'll be how people remember it. I think also whenever you're talking about sequels, everyone gives the first sequel a free pass. So part 2 always gets a free pass on quality. It doesn't have to be as good as part 1. People will go see it. They won't withhold their money. They won't withhold their attention because the first movie basically earned their attention for that second movie. I think once you get to the third movie, that tends to be like the make or break point as to whether, if the second one was bad and the third one was bad, people aren't going to go to the fourth. But they're making a Toy Story 5. So, Disney is going to milk the sequels as long as they can. I fully expect a Zootopia 3, and I fully expect Zootopia 3 to be, again, worse than Zootopia 2. It's kind of the rule of thumb that each sequel's half as good as the one that preceded it. So this one would be half as good as Zootopia, and the next one will be half as good as that. But people are like, well, it wasn't that much worse than Zootopia 2. It's like, yeah, because you're only half as half. So after a while, it kind of tapers out. And all the quality is just consistently mediocre. But in this case, I think it's below mediocre. I think the movie, I'm going to say that the movie is bad. I'm not going to assign numbers. The production would be very high. There'd be a high production number and a really low writing number. And the general effect would be somewhere in the middle because there are some gags that maybe you laugh at, like the sloth that drives the car fast, or maybe you like the references to The Shining for some reason. There'll be a lot of moments that people kind of latch onto. Maybe you like the silly little sweet snake carrying the anti-venom around. It's just not a good movie. So I would love to hear your thoughts down below. I've talked about this movie for 18 minutes. I've told you why it sucks. Maybe you can tell me if you have any thoughts about this. There's so many movies that my family is actually, my kids are not willing to see. They had like a Lion King prequel movie, and they're like, this looks really bad. I get proud of my kids when they're able to say, like, that looks like a bad movie. I don't want to see that. I'm like, okay, great. Maybe I'm teaching you well, but we went and saw this one and it was bad. Leave me your thoughts down below, and you can buy a book. You can follow me on Patreon. I am working on music right now. That's like my current focus, and you can support me on that and that endeavor as I try to create some new solo guitar music. And yeah, that's it. That's what's going on in my world. Have a great one, and I'll see you all next time.